Okay, so what to do with a flock of lambdas? So this is a library and a talk by me. Email address is there. I work for Bloomberg. We don't use this at Bloomberg. In all probability, we will not use this at Bloomberg. It's just a little pet project of mine. What is it good for? I don't know. It's fun. It's similar to a spreadsheet. It is kind of useful for dealing with poorly defined mathematical systems like taxes, role-playing games. If you find it useful, catch me after. So let's start with some normal functions. Nothing funny about these. There's a function. It takes x, it adds 4, it returns that. There's it written as a lambda, takes x, adds 4. There's a lambda that takes no arguments. It returns 4. We call it, we get 4. Okay, we'll use some closures. Here's a list. There's some conferences. They're all great conferences. There's a lambda. It returns the second conference on the list. We call it, we get PyBay. Yay. We reorder that list. We still get the second argument from the list. Only thing is it's now PyGotham. Hopefully we'll see you all there. Okay, enough of that. Let's switch to dictionaries. We're going to make some closures. We're going to put them inside a dictionary. We're going to put the same dictionary inside of that closure. It's all references, so we can totally do that. We'll go ahead and take an example here. It's like a sales slip, an invoice, whatever. A bunch of these constant lambdas. Quantity 30, price 100. So a subtotal is going to be calculate what that quantity is by calling it, calculate the price by calling it, multiply the two, we get a subtotal. Hey, look, there's a tax rate. That's New Jersey sales tax, 6.625%. The tax we get by taking the subtotal and multiplying it by the tax rate. The total we get by adding the tax to the subtotal. Call it all out, see the values. Okay, and there's the tax. We can just call that and see it. But we're in San Francisco, and I think the tax here is 8.5%. I asked some people. Nobody seems to know. Does anybody know what it is? Don't tell me. Just tell me if you know. Okay, nobody knows. So I think the sales tax rate here is 8.5%, so we change the value on that, and we just call the tax value and the total value, and we just get those values. And now the bottom line value here is 3255. Without re-entering the whole thing, without recalling the whole thing. Fine. It's a neat trick. Let's clean it up. A few things that bother us right off the bat. Storing a constant should not require us to write out a constant lambda every time. We know we want to call the function whenever we access it, so we'll build that in. We may have some caching eventually, so we'll be ready for that. Make a library. I call the library flock. Here it is. So the invoice is now a flock dict. Quantity, we just store 30. Price, we store 100. There's the tax rate. Now, when we write a subtotal, we still create a lambda. We still create a zero argument callable, but we can just access the values directly, quantity times price. It will call them when it comes out. Same thing for tax, same thing for total, and when we want to see our subtotal, tax, and total, we just access them and it's called on the way out. But if we're here, let's add some tricks. The aggregator lets us work across parallel maps. So we'll make our invoice a little more complicated. Quantity, now we have 5 items with different prices and different quantities. And we use a flock aggregator and we say that's going to be the quantity and the price each, and the price will be obviously the quantity times the price each. So the subtotal will now be the sum of the prices, and we can write the sum function. It's just a slightly more complicated, but still zero argument function, just a little bit more complicated closure. Our subtotal, tax, and total are just some different numbers down there at the bottom. And our price for, say, item 3, which we bought 90 of, is $450, but we can change the price. Look, there we just added 5% to it. This is a flock, so we can shear our flock and get all the values out. It's up on GitHub. The GitHub link's been up in the top right the whole time, cmar/flock. Go ahead, drop me an email. My email's been there, up there in the top right the whole time. I'd love to hear what you suggest this is good for, because I honestly am not sure. I use it for like role-playing character sheets. I use it for, taxes, etc. Please go ahead, let me know. Thank you.